What's up guys, Mike Olson here, as always with my partner Justin Moody. We are the Moody Olson team and this is our channel, Moving to Las Vegas. Today we are bringing you the next in our series of Vegas versus videos. We're doing one that I'm actually really excited about today. We are doing Vegas versus Reno, Nevada. Keeping it in state for this one. We know that a lot of people are moving to both of these cities, particularly from the coastal cities on the West Coast, such as Seattle, Portland, the Bay Area, and Southern California. So we figure this is going to be a lot of good information for you guys if you're making that decision about which of these two locations you want to choose. Also, if you happen to live in one of those two cities and you're considering a move to the other, this is going to be good information for you to know what you can expect when you go from one city to the other city. As always, we do these videos across 6 different metrics that we compare so that we try to stay consistent with every one of these videos. Those metrics are cost of living, cost of housing, the job market, crime rates, dining and nightlife, and outdoor entertainment or outdoor living. Let's get right into it. Justin, why don't you kick us off and tell us about the relative housing markets of Las Vegas and Reno.
All right. I think, Mike, you've been to Reno a couple of times.
I have been to Reno a couple of times. Great city.
I have too. I actually really enjoy Reno. I usually go up there every year for the Best of the West Nugget Cook-Off and Sparks. I know I've talked to Mike about it. I think we're going to try and get up there maybe next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually went up there last year with Stasha because, as you guys may or may not know, Stasha is a big quilter. She owns a small quilting company where she makes handmade custom quilts, and they have a really great quilting convention up there. So we went up there for a few days. Stasha went to the quilting convention, and I went and played golf, as you may have guessed. It was a great time.
Every time I go to Reno, I always put golf on the list.
It's a great golf town.
And every time I go to Reno, one of the first things I say is, really love this town. It is a great place to visit. And would I want to live there? Probably not my speed, and it's definitely not in my budget. I mean, the housing market there is exploding. For those of you who know Reno, you know that it has seen a huge influx of Northern Californians, especially going into the Reno area to try and save on the state taxes and the cost of living in California. It's not a very far commute from Sacramento to Reno, about an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half. With traffic though, you can always push that up to a 2-hour drive. And obviously in the wintertime, it'd be much more difficult. But you do see a lot of Californians kind of flooding that Northern Nevada area. And because of that, it's really driven the market up. The average price, according to Realtor.com and Zillow, for a home in Reno is $550,000.
Okay. I mean, it's a little higher than here, but not nearly as bad as some of the other cities we've done in these comparisons.
You know, comparatively, it's not going to be that much higher, but it is substantially higher. It usually takes about 9 to 13 days to close on a home, or at least get it under contract in the Reno area. And the inventory is low. You do have a lot of the builders up there trying to catch up, but Reno does suffer from the same issues that Nevada suffers from.
How much inventory is there in Reno?
There's about a month and a half's worth of inventory.
Okay, and for those of you who don't know what that means, a month and a half of inventory means that if we added no new homes to the MLS, everything currently on the MLS would be sold in that time period.
Reno really suffers a lot from what Las Vegas suffers, and there's just a lack of land. As you may know or may not know, Nevada is mostly owned by the federal government.
Highest percentage of federally owned land of any state in the nation.
Yeah. So, you know, they have to wait for the BLM to release, that's the Bureau of Land Management.
Correct. To
release land for sale or lease so that they can build more homes on it. Reno is actually a little bit farther behind in Nevada, or Las Vegas, excuse me, as far as available land to build. So they are petitioning the federal government to get that land. So it does drive the home prices up. The homes up there are going to be a little bit different than in Southern Nevada, obviously, because you do have to deal with winter weather.
It's a significantly different climate.
Yes, it is. So you're going to see snow and you're going to see rain a lot more often up there in cooler temperatures than you will here in Nevada. So the homes are going to be built a little different. Reno was really built as kind of a rural community. So you will see homes that have bigger lots, some of the older communities. But as they start to build more and more in the last 20 years or so, you're starting to see more of a Vegas style home being built as far as the smaller lots, 2- and 3-story homes and less kind of ranch or family style homes.
I'd be curious to know what percentage of the homes up there are zoned in like an agricultural zone where you can have livestock and horses and that sort of thing, as compared to Las Vegas, where we do have some ag zoned properties, but they're not the majority by any stretch. It's a very small pockets.
All right, so one of my closest friends, his dad actually lives in Gardnerville. It's a very rural community. You see a lot of horse ranches, you see a lot more farming down there.
Okay.
So they're surrounding Reno, you're gonna have a lot more rural communities. A lot of mining is big in Reno as well. So the housing market is going to kind of fluctuate. The different types of workers that you have up there really fluctuate, so it does fluctuate the housing market as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the cost of living between the two cities,
Yeah.
so that we can have a broader view beyond just the housing market of what your day-to-day life is going to be like vis-a-vis your financial situation. As always, I am using the NerdWallet cost of living calculator comparison tool because I believe that it gives one of the best comparisons of two different cities, and they use consistent metrics across the board when they compare cities, and in my experience it's very accurate. The cost of living calculator from NerdWallet says that in order to maintain the same standard of living, if you live here in Las Vegas and you make the median household income of $66,400 a year, and you want to go to Reno, or you want to compare Reno and know how much money you would need to make in that market in order to have the same standard of living, it's only $69,700 a year. So it's only a difference of about 5%, which is actually very, very close. Close enough that I would almost call it a wash.
Yeah.
Particularly given the similar natures of the two towns, being that they both have a significant portion of their economy. And I know I don't want to step on Justin's next subject here when we talk about the job market, but given that, you know, the similarities with Reno also being a tourist town, it's also a casino town, just like Las Vegas. So those similarities are going to carry through into other areas of the economy. Let's look at some specifics on what makes those numbers up. Housing cost is about a difference of 5%. So Justin already talked to you about the sales cost, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about rent. The example that they use here is a 2-bedroom apartment. So this is the median cost of a 2-bedroom apartment. You can of course get one for less, or you can get one for more in either of these markets. In Las Vegas, you're looking at $1,627 per month, compared to Reno, where you're looking at $1,585. So a difference of about $60. Transportation cost, you're looking at about 7% higher in Reno. Gas prices for a gallon of gas in Las Vegas, $4.16 compared to $4.60 in Reno. Now, of course, those are not the most up-to-date current numbers, but it does a very good job of showing you the average difference in price. Again, not a significant difference, you know, not a great difference. I mean, you're talking about 45 cents a gallon, but not a significant difference.
That's enough to make me drive across the street to the other gas station though, for sure.
Yeah, but probably not much further than that.
No, probably not.
So food costs, Reno is 3% lower. I found that a little bit surprising. Maybe it's because it's a little bit closer to the agricultural centers. So transportation for the food is a little bit lower. That would be my guess, but that's just a guess. But food cost, I mean, 3%, you're talking basically a wash there as well. As you guys can see, this is pretty consistent that the cost of living is very, very similar in both locations. If you can afford to live in Las Vegas, you can afford to live in Reno, and vice versa. Entertainment cost, 18% higher. So that's going to be the biggest difference across the board here. And it says that that is primarily for service-based entertainment. So the example they use here is going to a yoga class, where you're spending about $16.67 for a class here in Vegas, as opposed to $22.50 in Reno. The other stuff is pretty darn close. Movie tickets are only about $1 difference, and a 6-pack of beer, you're talking less than $1 difference as well. Those are the metrics they use for entertainment costs. Again, you guys get it. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but there's really not a whole lot of difference here. Healthcare costs, you're talking about a difference of about 6%. So for a doctor's visit, $110 in Las Vegas versus $123 in Reno. Dental visit, $96 versus $116. Optometry visit, $96 versus $114. And cost of Lipitor, which is the medication that they use for this comparison, you're looking at $468.98 in Vegas versus $344.76. So your medication, at least for that specific medication, that's the biggest difference I've seen across this whole comparison. However, when it comes to your day-to-day doctor's visits, dental visits, optometry visits, you're looking at a difference of less than $20 between the two locations.
And remember, because Reno is in Nevada, they don't have that state income tax.
Correct.
Just like Las Vegas.
There is no state income tax, so a lot of the same benefits you're going to get in the Las Vegas market, you're going to get the exact same benefits in the Reno market, assuming you live on the Nevada side. You know, there are bedroom communities for Reno that are across the state line in California. And once you cross that state line, all bets are off. Now you're dealing with California and everything that entails. We're not going to get into that. You guys know what's up with California. Taxes are what they are. If you're considering moving to somewhere like Truckee or the California side of Lake Tahoe, we'll let you do your own research there. Those are very, very small, very niche cities, and it's just not a fair comparison. And I don't honestly think anybody's genuinely debating between Las Vegas and Truckee or Las Vegas and Lake Tahoe. You know, those are, like I said, they're very small communities, they're very niche communities. We'll let you guys do your own research on that. However, what we do want to talk about is how you're going to afford the cost of living regardless of which city that you're moving to. So I'm going to throw it back over to you, Justin, and why don't you tell us about the relative employment markets?
I knew that Reno had really started taking off as far as the tech industry. You know, I remember years ago Tesla building the Gigafactory. I was actually there during construction, and I asked somebody, what the heck is that huge slab of cement out there? And it was the Gigafactory that Tesla was building. What I didn't know is that Intuit has a huge presence up there as well as a couple of smaller software companies. And the reason being is that, you know, you have a lot of those software companies that are just moving a couple of 100 miles east out of California and kind of creating the Nevada Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And these companies, I was really surprised. I told Mike, maybe I ought to move to Reno. Tesla is paying in the high $60 an hour range, so about $140,000 a year. And Intuit is not very far behind them in the low $60 range, so about $120,000 to $130,000 a year. Those are going to be two of the higher paying jobs for the mass public in the Reno area. You do have a lot of healthcare up there. You have the University of Nevada, Reno. UNR is right there, downtown Reno. Kind of just like UNLV is set up, you know, right in the middle of the heart of the city. So those are going to be some of the bigger employers out there. You do have a lot of service industry, a lot of gaming, a lot of restaurants, nightclubs, things like that. So those are going to be the main employers out there. So the average income up there is slightly higher. And, you know, I know you kind of talked about that, but there's tons of work.
Here's the great thing about when tech comes to your town. In my experience, when your town turns into a tech hub, it really raises the whole economy.
Yes.
Because what happens when you have a town that's a tech hub, and I experienced this when I lived in North Carolina with the Research Triangle in Raleigh-Durham. You get a town that is a tech hub, and what happens is you get a whole bunch of people who are very specific, highly skilled labor, right? You get a lot of computer programmers, you get a lot of IT people, and these people have very specific set of skills. They tend to make a fairly decent wage, and they want a very specific standard of living. And so the rest of your economy tends to raise up to meet those people where they are.
Yes.
Right, and so what ends up happening is you get better quality restaurants, you get better quality entertainment, and the better quality jobs that come with that. So that if you're in the service industry, you have the opportunity to make more money.
Absolutely.
You know, if you are in any of these supporting industries that help keep a general economy going, when the whole economy raises up, your industry tends to raise up with it. I'll give you a great example of that is the Tri-Cities in Washington State, which would be a really interesting video for us to do sometime. It is a conglomeration of cities in Western Washington, if you're familiar with it, that has a very tech-centric population base because there's like nuclear research facilities and power plants out there. And so you have this like weird little farming town out in the middle of nowhere that has really high-end restaurants and entertainment options where you have people who are able to work in those places and make a really good living. Whereas if you had more of a, you know, kind of run-of-the-mill, and I'm not trying to disparage against, say, like a Chili's or an Applebee's, but if you're working in a higher-end steakhouse, you're going to make better money than you would working at a Chili's or an Applebee's, right? So those tech jobs bring supporting infrastructure, which then enables people who aren't in the tech industry to make a better living. And I think that's nothing but a good thing.
And we're definitely starting to see that here in Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
You know, we've seen companies like Switch come in, Boxable, some of these kind of cutting edge or newer technology companies.
Zappos.
Zappos is another great one, where they come into town, they just elevate the areas that they're coming into. I mean, Zappos started updating the whole downtown and Fremont Street area, and it's completely different than it was 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, and still growing, and
yeah,
still on the rise.
You got the art district out of it. So you're totally right. It does kind of build up the service industries around that and the neighborhoods around it. So while Reno has definitely got the edge on us right now, we are starting to see, because again, Reno does have the weather. In the winter, it makes it difficult for employees to get to work. You're starting to see more and more of these companies look at Las Vegas. You can't drive more than 5 minutes and not see some huge warehouse or some huge office complex being built in the Las Vegas area, kind of anticipating that job growth. So I would say that while Reno has the edge right now, Las Vegas is definitely on the fast track and catching up.
And I would say that there are probably some areas where Las Vegas does have an edge, right? Yeah. Probably in something like manufacturing, yes, or warehousing, distribution, right? Yep. Because Las Vegas is a big distribution hub. So there are definitely going to be areas. So it really comes down to, in my estimation, what field are you in?
Yep.
You know, there are definitely going to be job fields where Reno's going to have the edge. There's going to be job fields where Las Vegas has the edge. But both places have a fairly booming economy with lots of job opportunities available. So again, very similar cost of living, very similar job opportunities. Las Vegas on a larger scale just because it's a larger town.
Yep.
But I don't think you can really go wrong either way, as long as whatever specific job you're looking for is available in that area.
Yeah. And don't forget, Las Vegas, you brought up a great point. Las Vegas is a bigger town by about 800,000 people.
Yes, by a few orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. This is the one that we like talking about the least, but we feel that it's important to bring it to the table. And actually, today, it's not going to be that painful to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the crime statistics for the two cities. I'm using the US News website that tracks crime rates for various metropolitan areas across the country. They use a scale of 1 to 10 to rate the overall safety of a particular city, and Reno and Las Vegas actually come in with an identical score of 8 out of 10.
That kind of surprised me.
I was a little surprised by that as well, but then I looked at the numbers that support that assessment, and they're pretty accurate. So looking at, of course, they compare property crime, number of crimes per 100,000, and violent crime, number of crimes per 100,000. So the property crime in Las Vegas is 2,924 crimes per 100,000 people, which is slightly higher than the national average. Whereas in Reno, it is 2,632 crimes per 100,000 people, also slightly higher than the national average. However, for a city of its size, Las Vegas actually compares very favorably to other cities of its size. So when you talk about the national average, you're talking about all of the statistical areas that they're looking at across the country. But when you compare it to other cities of a similar size, Las Vegas actually does very well. And Reno, when you compare it to other cities of a similar size, it also compares, it's about the average for cities of that size. And then let's switch over to violent crime. And Reno has 612 crimes per 100,000 people, as compared to Las Vegas at 517 per 100,000 people. So again, very, very favorably compared to cities of a similar size nationwide. Las Vegas is just slightly higher than the national average, as is Reno. So relatively speaking, and I have spent a significant amount of time in Reno. Obviously, I've lived in Las Vegas for several years. Justin, I think you can say the same. Both cities feel pretty safe to me. I'm sure there are areas in both cities that I wouldn't walk around by myself at night if I wasn't familiar with the area. But you can literally say that about any metropolitan area in the country. Every city is going to have its areas where you need to be a bit more vigilant. That's just the nature of a large city. So as far as overall crime rates, both of them compare pretty favorably to the national average. Both of them I would consider relatively safe cities. Enough of that. Let's move on to something more fun to talk about. Justin, why don't you tell us about the entertainment and nightlife?
All right. I'm gonna throw restaurants in there as well.
Yes.
If you guys have watched enough of these videos, you know Mike and I love Vegas. I think we're a little biased.
Just a little.
Just a little biased. But we do love Vegas. As you can tell, Mike and I both enjoy eating. Reno, the only thing that's really ever driven me to Reno is the barbecue championship. It is the largest rib cook-off barbecue championship west of the Mississippi. This thing is massive. I can't wait to get Mike up there and watch his eyes just bulge out of his head with the amount of barbecue that he's gonna have access to.
I do love barbecue.
So, and it's a fun event. Other than that, the nightlife and the dining in the Reno area, to me, is a little lackluster. You really have the downtown Reno area, the main drag there, where you're gonna have the casinos, you're gonna have the bars, you're gonna have the restaurants and the nightclubs. But it's more of a college vibe, because you do have the college, again, right there in the downtown area. And Reno's just not as spread out as Las Vegas is. To be fair, I haven't spent that much time in kind of the suburbs of Reno. But what I do know is that the main focus is going to be in the downtown Reno area. You do have some nicer restaurants and bars down there, but and this is from Mike specifically, the brewery scene. I don't recall seeing very many breweries up there.
So when I went there last year with Stasha, we found a couple, and I'm an avid user of Yelp. I'm an avid user of the Google Maps feature where you can see the reviews of various establishments. That's how I generally decide where to eat. And being the selective eater that I am, I'm not a picky eater. I will actually eat just about anything, but I am selective about what type of a restaurant I'm gonna patronize. Listen, I'm a bougie guy. I like nice food. I will eat at a hole in the wall, but it's gotta be pretty well-reviewed hole in the wall. So when we were there last time, I jumped on Yelp, I jumped onto Google Maps, I looked for breweries. I found a couple of great ones. There's not a lot, but it's not a huge city. So a city that size, 2 or 3 breweries, that's a pretty good number actually. And they had a couple, they were really good, I enjoyed them. We were able to find a couple of really good restaurants. It did take a little bit of searching around on Yelp to find them. We found this great little mom and pop restaurant. I wish I could think of it. If I think of the name, I'll have the editor put it on the screen right now. But we did find a great little mom and pop restaurant that we went to a couple of times actually. Phenomenal food, just a local family owned restaurant. It was in like an old house, like a stone house. Yeah. So the ambiance was fantastic. The food was great. And then we ate at a seafood restaurant right down on the river, right there in downtown. And that was really, really good as well. So,
and like you said though, it took you a minute to find those things.
It did, yeah. You had to put some effort into finding good stuff.
When you're in Vegas, and if you're a Vegas local or you want to become a Vegas local, I promise you it's not that difficult to find a high quality restaurant.
Usually you just have to say I'm hungry and somebody will be quick to tell you where you should go eat.
Absolutely. And again, if I felt like, anytime we wanted to do something and it was, getting later in the evening, we were kind of driven into the city center of Reno. Where in Vegas, there's so many different things that you can do well away from the strip. So I'm always gonna give the nod to Las Vegas when it comes to nightlife, entertainment, and restaurants. I'm always gonna do that just because I've never been someplace, I've never heard of someplace that can compete. We have the best chefs and restaurants in the world. We have some of the best entertainment in the world. And while Reno does get its fair share of great concerts and shows that come through, it's nothing compared to like what Las Vegas gets. So
in my experience, so you talk about concerts, right? And don't get me wrong, I love Reno, but here's the comparison I'm gonna use. When you come to Vegas, you're going to get current megastars on a regular basis. Right now in Las Vegas, you can go see Maroon 5, you can go see Jason Derulo, you can go see Christina Aguilera, you can go see, Pink is coming here shortly, right? We get the biggest stars of today performing here in Las Vegas regularly. Reno reminds me a little bit of Laughlin in that when you go see a concert there, it's going to be the biggest stars of maybe 15 or 20 years ago. Right? You're gonna go see people who were on the airwaves in the late 90s or the early 2000s, and they're still great shows, don't get me wrong. We went down to Laughlin to go see the Goo Goo Dolls, right? Because that is Stasha's all-time favorite band. But the Goo Goo Dolls are not as big today as they were 20 years ago. That's the type of shows you're gonna see in Reno. You're gonna see shows of people who were headlining acts maybe a generation ago, and today they're playing a smaller town like Reno, whereas Las Vegas, you're gonna get the stars of today as well as some of the legacy stars.
Absolutely.
So entertainment options, you have plenty of them, but that's gonna be some of the small differences. Of course, Las Vegas has sporting events that you're not gonna get there. We have
professional sporting events.
We have the Raiders, we have the Knights, we have the Aces, we have all of these sporting events. In Reno, you're not gonna get that. I think they have a AAA baseball team up there, and that's about it. So that's what
college sports.
You'll get college sports, but you're gonna get professional Big Four sports here in Vegas. You're not gonna get that in Reno. So Reno really is, in a lot of senses, a pared down Las Vegas. Everything you get there is gonna be the same thing you get in Las Vegas, just with maybe the volume knob turned down a little. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some phenomenal entertainment options there, but really can't compare. Just like most of these cities can't compare to Las Vegas when it comes to entertainment. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up with our final topic of the day. As always, it is outdoor living. You guys know the deal with Las Vegas. Our outdoor living is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
We have more options than most people might think. Usually people come here for the nightlife, they come here for the strip. People don't necessarily realize just how many great opportunities there are to do things outside here in Las Vegas. Yeah, you gotta be a little hardy, you gotta be able to put up with the heat in the summertime. However, we do have a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah.
Starting first and foremost with the best option, in my opinion, you got Lake Mead and all of the lake sports associated with going out to Lake Mead, right? You can rent a houseboat, you can rent a ski boat, you can go fishing. I grew up water skiing on Lake Mead, some of the best water skiing. I tell you what's great about water skiing on Lake Mead is that because of all of the nooks and crannies that the lake is made up of, you can get back into those, and even on a day when the main part of the lake is kind of choppy, the water back in these little crevices that you can get back in will just be glass.
Okay.
Especially early in the morning. You can get out there, you can water ski on that nice glassy water. It's fantastic. Of course, you have scuba diving, you have fishing, you have camping. The camping out at Lake Mead is fantastic. So you got a lot of opportunities for outdoor entertainment and outdoor living out there at Lake Mead. In addition to that, we also have Mount Charleston, a very underrated gem that most people who think of Las Vegas don't even know about if you don't live here. Mount Charleston, just north of the city here. Some great hiking, some great photography. If you're into outdoor photography and nature photography, Mount Charleston is a fantastic option. Stasha and I have gone up there before, taken our cameras up there. Just spent the day walking around on the hiking trails with our cameras, looking for some cool shots, had a great time. They have cabins you can rent up there, so again, they have camping options. And in the wintertime, people don't realize this, it actually snows up there. Yeah. There is some skiing up there.
Skiing and snowboarding for sure.
So you have those options. And then we also have Red Rocks and world-class rock climbing, world-class trails to go hiking on. Cycling is great out there.
I just drove a little bit north of Las Vegas over the weekend, about an hour and a half north, and on my way during that drive, I saw so many people on the side of the road and finding these different places where they're out there with their side-by-sides and their quads and their dirt bikes, just enjoying the nature and all the fun things that the Southern Nevada desert has to offer. And it wasn't just like it was a couple. I mean, there were dozens of people out there just really enjoying it. They had their RVs out there, so you could tell they'd probably been out there for a couple of days. There's a big, I never even knew it, it's called Big Dune, and there's a huge sand dune.
Okay.
About 45 minutes north of here. And I just thought it was funny because I'm like, oh, there's a sign that says Big Dune. I look to my left and there's a big dune. I always forget that that's another part of what Southern Nevada and the Las Vegas area has to offer. That outdoor kind of like off-roading. It's really becoming, you know, and I know growing up in Southern California, we always heard about people going to Glamis or, you know, out to Joshua Tree to do their dirt biking.
Yeah.
And it's a huge thing here. Also, you know, part of the reason I went up there is the wildlife. When we got up, you know, when we were driving up there, we saw about 400 wild donkeys.
The burros.
The burros. So if that's, you know, if wildlife is your thing, we have bighorn sheep, we have burros, we have wild horses, coyotes. Sorry, Jim from Orlando or Jim from Florida, we do not have any mountain lions in the area.
We know you were looking forward to that.
We know you were looking forward to it. But we do have such a great abundance of wildlife that people don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So the outdoor living in Southern Nevada, to me, if that's your style, if that's the things that you're looking for, Southern Nevada could be an amazing place for you.
You know, another thing that I want to bring up about being here in Las Vegas is the number of things available to you within just a few hours drive.
Oh yeah.
Right? So within just a couple of hours, you can be down in the San Gorgonio Mountains in Southern California. You can be down in Big Bear. And if you guys have never been to Big Bear, I highly recommend it. It's a absolutely beautiful vacation destination. Of course, you can be down at the beach in about 4 hours.
Grand Canyon in 2.
You'd be at the Grand Canyon in 2 hours. So many things are within a day's drive of Las Vegas that you may not realize are that accessible. And if you live here, like we do, like I love the beach, right? And I get to go there a few times a year, which is about as many as I need to go. And it's a 4-hour drive. And we go down there, we get a hotel room for the night, we spend the day at the beach, really enjoyed the time. So just because we don't have exactly what you're looking for right here around the city of Las Vegas doesn't mean it's not within a few hours drive. And in my experience, most people are willing to drive a couple hours to go enjoy their outdoor entertainment.
Drop a comment below. Would you like us to do a video on things that you can do within 2 hours of Las Vegas? Just put something in it, show me what's 2 hours from Vegas, in the notes below, and Mike and I'll start working on that.
Yeah, I would love to do a video like that. So let's move on and talk about outdoor living in Reno.
Completely different than Las Vegas, that's for sure.
It is quite a bit different, but there is a lot of overlap as well, right? So of course we have lake sports here. Go up to Reno, you're gonna have lake sports there. The two big lakes that come to mind, of course, would be Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake.
Yes.
Both of them less than an hour's drive from Reno. So you're gonna have your lake sports at those two locations. They're two very different lakes, whereas Lake Tahoe is up in the mountains.
An alpine lake.
It is an alpine lake, and Pyramid Lake is down more on the plains. So
desert lake like Lake Las Vegas.
Correct. But you're gonna have lots of lake sports available at those places. So the same thing, water skiing and fishing and camping along the lakeside, all of those options are available to you. Reno is much more mountainous. The area around Reno is much more mountainous than the area around Las Vegas. I know we just told you we have Mount Charleston nearby, and we do. However, we don't have anything like the mountains that surround Reno. There's going to be a lot more mountain-based outdoor activities available to you. Much larger skiing areas with much more varied types of terrain for skiing and snowboarding. I know that snowmobiling is popular in that area as well. We don't really have that here. When you extend out and you talk about, well, what's within a relative driving area of there, that's going to be much closer to Northern California. So you're going to be closer to the river delta of Sacramento. You're going to be closer to those types of environments and that Northern California outdoor living. Something I know that's very popular up there, because I follow some YouTubers who are into this, there's a lot of backcountry flying out of Reno.
Okay.
So Reno Stead Airport there has a lot of guys who have bush planes, and there's a lot of bush planes that fly out of there, and people go do backcountry flying. They fly through the mountains, they land up on the mesas, they go plane camping. That sort of thing is very, very popular there. It's actually something that I would really like to get into. I'm in the process of getting my pilot's license. I haven't quite finished it yet, but I would hope to finish it soon. And eventually I'd like to get a bush plane myself and be able to participate in that lifestyle. There is actually a bush plane fly-in up there called the High Sierra Fly-In. It is the biggest gathering of bush pilots in the country, to my knowledge. So I would really love to participate in that someday. But the outdoor living in Reno is absolutely fantastic with the mountains and the lakes. There's so many great options up there, to the point that it is a place that I would go as a Las Vegas resident on vacation to enjoy some of the outdoor opportunities that Reno offers.
Absolutely.
So you really can't go wrong. It just depends on what you want. In my opinion, there's two things that are going to determine which city you choose if you're debating between them. It's going to come down to the size of the city and the climate.
Yeah.
Because Reno has 4 seasons, Las Vegas does not. So if you want that 4 seasons, if you want that true winter, if you want snow on the ground for Christmas, you're probably going to choose Reno. If you want that smaller town feeling, you're probably going to choose Reno. If you're like me and you want endless summer and you want to golf year round, if you're like me and you want the larger city and all of the accoutrements that come with that, the better restaurants, the better dining options, the better entertainment options. And for me, the proximity to Southern California was a big deciding factor, because Reno was on my list when I was deciding where to live. And the reason Las Vegas won is because A, I don't do winter. Yeah. I did winter for 8 years in Colorado and I'm good. B, it's a bigger city and it has better food options, better beer options, better entertainment options, and I care about those things. So those were the deciding factors for me, along with the ability to go to an Angels game in about a 4-hour drive.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, very important for me. Which city is right for you guys? Drop a comment down below. Tell us your opinion about Reno and Las Vegas. Tell us which of those cities has the things that you're looking for. If you are looking to move to either of those cities, make sure you reach out to the Moody Olson team. If you're moving to Reno, we know some fantastic agents up there. We would love to refer you over to them. We'll make sure that you get an agent who's going to take care of you, who's got the experience that you need to make sure that you're going to get the best support that you can through the home buying process. And of course, if you're moving to Las Vegas, reach out to Justin and I. The Moody Olson team is going to take great care of you. We pride ourselves on providing some of the best service in the real estate industry here in Las Vegas. Justin, why don't you take us out of this thing?
Don't forget, if you have questions about can I afford a home, is now the best time for me to buy, you want to reach out to our lending partners, Steve Schauer and Linda Vo at Security National Mortgage. Their link will be down below. can reach out to them and they'd be more than happy to walk you through the steps to find out what you can afford, or if now is the time for you to buy.
No matter what, if you're moving here next week, next month, or next year, reach out to the Moody Olson team. We're always going to be here for you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever we put up new content. We do 2 videos a week of the best locals-based Las Vegas real estate content we can. We want to make sure that you're an informed buyer and make sure that you have all the information you need to make the best decision for you and your family. And until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Justin.
And we're out of here.